thanks everybody to be here today. I'm Nico Fernandez, and I'm here with Wilmer. We will have our own slides to present ourselves. So quick, quick slides on the event and the user group. For us, it's a pleasure to be on this user group, and of course, thanks for every sponsor of the event. These sponsorships are always important to have people, organizations supporting the community. So thanks for all of them. It's important to uh, show the names and to encourage more organizations to do this. So today's session on our session today, it's all about the Power World Cup. So it's about to start the World Cup, and we talked with Wilmer a few weeks ago, and it was like, hey, we we can do this, right? We can build a Power App solution, a Power Platform based solution to track the results and to do some gamification experience between friends and colleagues. Of course, we are not going to uh, give this with free license to people, right? So we are not going to sell this as a IP or give this to access
just
people
for fun.
to yeah, just for fun. So we talk about it and it's like, hey, what about sharing our thoughts and how we envision a solution like this? And this is why we're here. Really quick presentation of myself. I'm Nico Fernandez. Nicolas is the long name, but Nico is how I prefer. I'm from Argentina. As you probably can see in my accent, it's not the best, and I really like to talk. So, luckily, I have Wilmer here to control me. I'm an MVP, 3 times MVP and MCT. I can say I'm an author now because I just finished my chapters now. It's on review, and I'm really like to have Wilmer as a technical reviewer of the book. And I started working with the Power Platform, with the business application platform in 2014. Myself, I'm a functional guy, solution architect, and now I'm leading the EMEA and APAC pre-sales team in HCL Tech. Wilmer, up to you to present yourself.
Thanks, Nico. Well, my name is Wilmer Alcivar. I'm MCT since last year. I was born in Ecuador. I started in 2012 with Sugar CRM, and in 2013 I moved to Dynamics CRM, or at least that is how we used to call it back then. And in 2015 I moved to Uruguay to continue my professional growth. And in 2019 I moved to Spain for the same reason. And there I met Nico. And since February this year, I'm living in the Netherlands. So I'm a Power Platform and Dynamics 365 CE technical consultant at Dynamic People. And to be honest, I'm really happy to be here for all the challenges that I'm crossing and I'm starting right now in my professional life. And since last year, with Nico and well, me and two other friends, we founded Power 365 Initiatives, which is an initiative that for now covers only one branch of contribution to the community. Yet the idea is to have several branches in the future. But anyway, so we started last year this branch, and news. And the goal of Power 365 News is to share in a bi-weekly basis news, updates, community contributions, tips about Dynamics 365 CE and Power Platform as well. And this branch has its own profile on LinkedIn and its own YouTube channel, by the way. It is worth mentioning that the content is currently in Spanish, but we are thinking about creating content in English in the near future. So stay tuned.
I don't think it will
Um,
be in Urdu. I don't think it will be in Urdu anytime
no,
soon.
I don't think so. All Dutch anyway. But that's it for me right now. Thank you, Nico. You can go on.
Perfect. So, quick review of the agenda for today. As I mentioned, the idea here is to share why we thought about this solution, the idea, the concept of this solution, and then we are going to review the high-level architecture. And I want to highlight this now because we're going to explain this later. Everything here that we're going to share is, first of all, is the idea and the concept, and then we're going to deep dive on what is actually built, what we actually build on the current solution. This is a scalable solution that we are looking at. So the idea and the concept of the solution concept, then the high level architecture. We're going to identify the key solution components for those who are new in Power Platform. That will be really useful. I hope to understand why we're using the different components. Then we're going to talk about the data model behind the curtains. So how we build the data model and why we build it in that way, how we divide the data model as well. And then we're going to jump to the applications, what's there to see. Last but not least, we are going to talk about how we are managing the data, how we are going to update the results of the matches. And well, we have a bonus track. I'll keep that as a mystery for the moment. So, what's the idea? What are the concepts behind this edition? The idea was, as I say, to build an application to let us have some fun with friends, colleagues, and well, we also thought about the community. But we need some licenses. We don't have the license. We don't have the sponsors to invest. Also, so for the moment, it's just the IP we are going to share freely in the community, and of course the concept. But this is a gamification tool to play with friends and colleagues. The challenge we decide to have here is how we can use the complete Power Platform to provide and to deliver the best user experience. So we try to think on the different components, how we can use them for the best. Then the scalability side of this, and that's something I quickly mentioned before. So the idea, it is not a hard code solution just for this World Cup, but it's it is designed to support other championships and future World Cups. Of course, uh, with every limitation that every data model and process could have, but that's one of the key concepts of the solution. And the last but not least, again, is to ignite, so, right? So it's to share this non-traditional solution, how it was built, how it was conceived, and maybe that will help you to think on other solutions such like this one. As a high-level architecture, as I mentioned, we are trying to use every component on the Power Platform. Yes, we're not using AI Builder yet, so the prediction model could be really useful, but we're not going to include bets. Don't worry for that. We don't want any legal issue. So basically, we're using Dataverse as a main component, so all the data security logic it will be stored and managed there. We are having two applications. The first application, it's an admin application. It's a model-driven app that we're going to use to set up everything, to configure everything, and where somebody will have that global view what's happening on the different championships. Then we have a Canvas app. In this case, the Canvas app it's explicitly for the World Cup because it has a specific structure how the matches are done. For other championships, it will have to be another different Canvas app. Power BI is going to be used for the leaderboard report. So since this is a gamification tool or application, you will compete against the colleagues, the friends, and everybody's going to win points ideally if you are good enough to predict the results, and that will give you the leaderboard report and other KPIs that we can track. Then we have Power Virtual Agents, and we thought, okay, you're working, right? So you already configure your forecast, and you want to see how are you on the leaderboard, but you want to go to the Power BI. You can have a player assistant for those type of things to consult how you're on the leaderboard, to consult also the match results, uh, or the next matches dates. Then we have Power Automate, and that, of course, it's being used for notifications, to reminders on the date that you have to complete your forecast, to send reminders, or sorry, weekly reports on the leaderboard. So different type of notifications that we can have on Power Automate. And we're also using Power Automate to integrate with the Food API. That's something that Wilmer will talk in detail because, hey, I told you I'm the functional guy here. He's the guy doing the magic. So he will tell you about this API and how we are using it to retrieve all the match information. Last on this architecture, we have the Power Pages, and it's lovely to say Power Pages now. I prefer to say Power Pages than Power Apps portal. Too many words. So Power Pages. The idea of this is to have a portal not only for internal use but also for external users. As a concept view of this solution, we have, of course, Azure. It's supporting everything. We have Dataverse as the core component. All of that, we use Power Platform from a platform perspective. From an application perspective, we have four different areas we're going to talk about. So we have a configuration side. We're going to configure the championship, the countries, players, matches, etc. And also we are going to configure the points, how you're going to get your points. Then we have the execution, how the championship is going to be running. So you will have the matches, you will have the goals, you have the cards, the group points, the group position. So everything that is regarding the actual World Cup execution. And then you have the gamification or the competition side, and that's where the user will forecast the results of the matches. Last, we have at the right the custom APIs we built. Uh, One of those is using the food API. Some of those are actually retrieving information from the matches and the structure of the countries, so the players and everything like that. And then we also have custom APIs to do the heavy processing of the results. So every time a match it's finished, we will get the results, and we are going to do the calculation on the different users. So how many points each one will have. From user interface perspective or how they are going to engage. The idea this is something you can deploy in your organization. You can use everything as a Teams embed experience. We're talking about Power Apps, but Power Pages not really. You can, but I wouldn't recommend. You can have your Power Apps, your Power BI reports, Teams notifications, and Power Visualization, everything embed in Teams, Microsoft Teams. Key components, I already mentioned these. So Dataverse, data model, security model, competition rules, leaderboard, audit, power apps. It's going to be used for a model-driven app and a campus app, some custom pages to improve the UX, Power Automate to update matches, send notifications, calculate results, the player assistant on Power Visualizations, leaderboard report in Power BI, portal for external and internal users, and the Teams embed experience. Data model perspective, we try to separate these on the three areas. So you will have the configuration side where basically you need the World Cup, you need which countries are being part of this World Cup. And because World Cup can have one host or multiple hosts, that is an attribute we will have on the participant country. I would have a participant country because from all the countries in the world, only a few of them are actually participating on the World Cup. 42 of them are participating only. So that's why we have that middle table to control, because we can have all the countries and then we have the participant countries to see on this World Cup. These are the countries that are actually participating. This is the final position this country had in this World Cup. We will have the stadiums. That's some metadata we will have on that will with the matches and the World Cup. Yeah, just to have more data. And then we will have, of course, the match configuration, all the dates, the stadium, which countries on each one of the matches, or for which stage this match is about, and the points configuration. From okay, need to take these two yellow boxes from the slide that will be done before we share the slide deck. So from the model execution, it's pretty easy. So everything that is concerning the actual execution of the World Cup, the matches from the result perspective, the cards, the goals, which is the player who's doing the goals or who's affecting by the card, the red card, the yellow card. So that is going to be part of that slide of data model. And the last part is the competition data model. This is for the user match forecast. That includes, so each one of the users will define which is the result for the each match, right? So for the group stage, it's quite easy. We know which is each country that is competing. Qatar versus Ecuador, or Argentina versus, I don't know, because I really don't watch the
Mexico,
World Cup.
for
I'm sure, yeah,
example.
Mexico, thank you. Oh yeah, we have some issues with Mexico in the World Cups. So you will have that fixed from the beginning because that's part of the fixture. we can you can have that information now. But from the round stages, that's something that dynamically it will be part of the calculation, and it's going to be based on your results, on your, well, the goals and the result of the matches that you decide. So this is small part of the data model, but it's core for the gamification side. I talk a lot, and probably you want to see some actions, right? So I think it's time for a quick demo, and yeah, Wilmer, up to you.
Thank you, Nico. Thank you for that. Let me share my screen, please. Where is this? Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah,
Can you see it?
we can see. Yeah,
Right?
we can see the screen. Perfect.
Perfect. Perfect. So, well, thanks for that, Nico. So let's jump right into the Canvas app. I will show my environment. So yeah. And as Nico mentioned earlier, this is the management application. And well, what we can do with this app is first, let me explain to you what you are looking at. And on the left, we have the sitemap of the application, and we have divided into two groups. One is the main group for that contains the course table for this solution, and the administration group that contains the catalog tables. And the catalog tables contains the basic information for the right functioning of the app, such as countries, players, etc. So I would like to start showing the catalog tables. And for that, let's jump right into the countries table, right? And which is pretty basic actually. It only contains the ID and the name columns. And of course, we are using the out-of-the-box image column to set the flag of the country like this, right? And then if we go to the players table, it's pretty much the same thing because it's just using, for example, let me show you, it's using the ID and the name columns. And of course, the lookup column to set up the country of the player, right? And here we have all the players, regardless of whether they are starters on the match or they are on the bench, like the reserve team. And if we go to then we go to the participating countries table, we can see that in addition to the ID and the name column, the typical columns that we are using in the solution, this table is using some other columns, such as the instance of the World Cup, where the country is participating, and we have two options columns to set up if the country is a host or not. We decided to create an additional table called World Cup, right? This table in here, because the idea in the future is to extend this application to other World Cup instances or leagues, for example, could be the Premier League or whatever. But knowing that in 4 years, the platform could change a lot, so that implies that we have to maintain it as well. And finally, for this part of the sitemap, we have the points configuration table, which contains the record logic for the points that will be given to the participating users when they are right in their predictions. So for example, for the group stage, we have configured that if the user guesses the winning team, then they will get 3 points. Let me show you that, this record, right? And if the user guesses the winning team and the score, well, I think that's really lucky. So then they will get 5 points. Let me show you that record. I think is this one, right? And we have the same concept for the knockout stage, but with the difference that maybe the teams that you said will win in the group stage, they didn't advance in the end to the knockout stage. So you have an additional chance in this part to guess at least the score, the outcome of the match, right? So, and that's why for the knockout stage, we have an additional record for the setup points, which is called result, this one. So, for example, you say that Spain and Belgium will play in the knockout stage, but maybe they didn't advance, right, to the knockout stage. So therefore, you have at least that chance to guess in the outcome of the game, no matter which teams are playing in that game, actually. So for the knockout stage, if the user guesses the team, they will get 3 points as well. Is this, for example. If they just guesses the score, then they will get 5 points. Sorry, it's like this. And if the user guesses the team and the score for the knockout stage, well, I think that's really, really lucky. And for that, the user will get 7 points, right? So I will show you later how these records are being used to update the user forecast, the predictions records. So for now, let's move on to the core tables. And here we have one of the most important tables of the solution, which is the matches table. This table is composed of participating countries, the stage, and the group, and also contains the points for each country, right? And the winning team, of course. This means that these match records are updated every day with the result of the match. And on top of that, the related user forecast records will be updated to give them the corresponding points, right? So then we have the goals and the cards tables. And we will see as the name suggests, of course, these tables stores or the goals and the cards for each game, for each match. So let me just open the new form in here. And we will see that, for example, this record, the goal record has the match, the country, the player who scored the goal, and the time of the goal. And for the cards table is pretty much the same. Let me open the new form. Since we have the match, the type of card, right? If it's yellow or red, the player who committed the fall and the time of the fall. And finally, we have the user's match forecast table, which is the table that contains the record of the prediction for each user. And in here we can see, for example, let me show you like this match. We can see actually the match record, the participating countries, the goals of the user prediction, and finally the result of the forecast and the earned points. So these two columns are updated every day after the corresponding match gets updated to get actually the points. So for example, in this, just for testing purposes, I updated manually this record just to show you. For example, this is the participating user here is Nico, and Nico said that Argentina against Mexico in this match, Argentina will win by 3 goals. And let's say that actually that happened. So Argentina won this match by 3 goals. So Nico is the outcome of this forecast is that Nico gets the team and the result, and for that he will get 5 points. And well, that's it for the model-driven app right now. Now let's jump into the Canvas app, which I think at first glance I think is way more beautiful than the model-driven app. Well, that of course in a Canvas app we have more freedom for the creativity part, but anyway, that's a topic for another session. So what we have here in the first screen are 3 buttons, and I'm going to press start. And on the second screen, we can see the groups with their countries. And the goal in here is that the user should enter the result of each game, each match. And I have already entered my predictions. So that's why you are looking at already some results in the text boxes, right? So let me just update a few of them very quickly. For example, let me say that Australia will win this match and this one as well. And let me say that France is losing. I think it's already losing. So before these changes, France is going to the knockout stage, but with this is should not pass. And if I click on next button, so we can see the same structure of groups, which the countries and the groups, and the same idea is in here. So the user should update some or enter the predictions. So let me just update a few of these. For example, let me say that South Korea will win in here. And
We know that that is unreal. South Korea winning to Uruguay, right?
I know, just
Okay, okay,
for
okay.
testing
Just
purposes.
for demo purposes. Okay, okay.
For testing purposes, yes, for demo purposes. So in this case, Uruguay won't pass to the to the knockout stage. So finally, if I click the next button, we will have the third screen where we can see the countries that will play the knockout stage. And this is according to the results registered by the user in the previous screen. Again, it's the same idea. The user must enter the result of each match. and I will do it really fast in here. And for example, just let me say that the Netherlands will win to the USA, Argentina same with Denmark. So for example, in this previous, before my changes, here this match was Brazil against Uruguay. So Uruguay is not passing to this stage. No, I would say that Ecuador will win, right? So, okay. Another validation that we have in here, for example, is that I cannot set a tie, right, in a match. So you will get a message. So a team must win or lose. And sorry, Nico, Argentina is not winning this match.
Yeah, I want to see on November 25 when
What will
Ecuador
happen?
has a match with Netherlands. I want to see that day.
Yeah, I know. It's a tough match. But let's say the Netherlands is not winning this match. So
That's a
and
final.
that's it.
Brazil, Germany.
That's the final.
That's a
The
final.
third place and the final Brazil against Germany. So if I click on the finish button, well, the user is redirected to another screen where in a few seconds they will be able to see their predictions. But what else is happening in the under the hood? Well, I will show you the code later. But in a nutshell, what is happening in a more technical way is that when the user click the finish button, this button calls Cloudflow and sends in a JSON format all the user's prediction, right, from the Canvas app. And the Cloudflow will then call a Dataverse custom API, sending again in JSON format all the data. And then the custom API takes care of creating and creating or updating all the records in Dataverse. So the whole process could take a few seconds to complete, right? And if I click this button back, then I will go back to the main screen. We have two more buttons in here. So one of these buttons is to see again my predictions as a user, and the other button is to see the overall result of all the other users, and of course to see where I am in the table as a participating user. And that's it for the functionality so far for the Canvas app. And now, last but not least, let me show you something else on the model-driven app, which is the dashboard that we can have a 360 view of the workup, but also for the user's prediction. For example, in the upper left corner, we have a chart to see who is winning in the user's prediction. On the upper right corner, we have a chart to see the total goals by country, right? On the lower left corner, we have a chart to see the top 5 strikers, right? And then we have two lists. One of them is to see the user's prediction, the user forecast, and that we can just change with a more rich view. And the other list is to see actually the matches. So again, let me change of view and I can see more data in it. So let me go back in here. To recap what we have seen so far, right, is for the model-driven app, we have seen that the data model structure, that is the catalog tables and the core tables, and also the configuration points table. And finally, the dashboard to have a 360 view of the workout, but also for the user's prediction. And let me change this. And for the Canvas app, we have seen the screens where the user can enter the result of each game. This is for the group stage and the knockout stages, and also the leaderboard screens. And now let me see if I can change this. Yes, perfect. Now let's talk about the fun part, which is the integration, because the question in here is, okay, how we can date those matches, those games. And for that, we have created an integration with an API called food API, as Nico mentioned it earlier. First, let me show you how you can use it. So let me change this, right? It's in here. So we are using Food API, which is hosted on Rapid API. Maybe some of you already know this, but Rapid API is one of the world's largest API hub, where developers can find and test and connect with tens of thousands of APIs. One of them is Food API. So Food API has different type of subscriptions. One of them is the free layer or the free subscription. So we are working with this one because the free subscription gives us a maximum of 50 requests per day. So believe me, that is more than enough for what we need in this solution, because the custom APIs that we have created makes 5 calls per day. One call is to get the result of the previous day matches, right? And the other call is to get all the events of the previous matches. And knowing that we have 4 matches per day, that in the end, that make a total of 5 calls per day. And what else? For example, let me show you now the cloud flows, right? So continue with the integration. And we have 2 cloud flows for this our solution. And the first one is used by the Canvas app when the user click on the finish button, right? So that Canvas app is using this Cloudflow, and let me open it. And this Cloudflow is very small. It's just receiving all the data from the Canvas app and sending to all this data in JSON format again to one of our custom API, right? And the second flow is an scheduled flow. So let me show you. This flow is triggered once a day. Actually, is triggered at 1 o'clock in the morning, right? And it will retrieve all the previous day matches, right? And after it's finishing with the matches, this flow will retrieve then the events data for those previous matches again. And finally, the Cloudflow will call another custom API to update the user forecast with the result of the previous matches, of course, to give the users the corresponding points. For example, let me show you. This is one of our custom APIs, which is called get schedules. The other one is called get events, which these 2 custom APIs are retrieving information from Food API, right? And then this is another custom API, but it's more internal. As I said, it's just for updating the user forecast records. So having said that, now let me show you the code, right? So here, for example, and we have built 5 custom APIs, and it's worth to mention that only 4 of these are being used. So the get players, for example, was used only in the beginning of this project, just as an initial data upload to the environment. So we are not using this custom API anymore, at least not for now. And then we have the get schedules custom API, which I think is one of the most important of our custom APIs. So let me show you this. And we can see that it's a really small piece of code, because we try to delegate all the heavy logic, all the heavy work to the handler classes. So the custom API itself is small, and it's a clean piece of code, easy to understand. Now, if I go to the handler API class, right? So this class contains all the methods to retrieve the data from the Food API endpoint. So for example, in this call get schedules method, which is this one, right? This method is actually calling the Food API endpoint, and after that we get that result, then we are calling the observed teams participating method, which is this method, right? And this method is preparing all the data to create or update the matches. But the best thing of this method is that everything is processed to Dataverse in a bulk request, which is mean that so this custom API will call only one time to Dataverse, and Dataverse will take care of creating or updating the matches record, right? So the tricky part in here is this object, organization request collection, and then we are for every record we are adding that here we are adding every upsell request, sorry, to the final request collection. So in the end, I will just send this object, the request collection, to Dataverse, and Dataverse is in charge to create or updating all the records, and that all of that is just in one call to Dataverse. So it's really good. And then we have the get events API, right, which is the same. It's a small piece of code, but everything is delegated to the API handler class. So again, this method is calling the food API to retrieve all the events information, which is goals and cards for each match. So again, taking into consideration that we have 4 matches per day, this is a total of 5 calls. And what else do we have in here? Well, pretty much is the code that we like to show you. And of course, we have another which is this one, I think. Sorry, is this is the custom API to update the user forecast records. And this custom API again is being called from the Cloudflow after every match is updated, right? So this custom API is taking in charge to first retrieve all the information from the previous matches to see actually who won the game, and then it try to process every or give every corresponding points to each user forecast record, right? So um, I think the best part of all of this is that you don't have to worry about these technical details, because for you it will be really easy to install the solution and do the initial configuration and start using the app. So let me just try to go in here again. So just let try to go to the end. And this is, well, to start with, you have to download the solution, of course. And in the end, um, well, stay tuned, because in the next days, sorry, Nico and me will be uploading the solution to our GitHub repository. So please stay tuned to that, to our LinkedIn profiles. But in the end, is you have to download the solution, import it into your environment, and then you have to upload 6 Excel files. Pretty straightforward. So those files are meant to be the initial data upload to your environment. And after that, all of the data is uploaded to your environment. Then you have to go to Rapid API and subscribe to the free layer of Food API. And when you subscribe to the free layer, you will get 2 values from that. So the API key and the API host URL. Both of those values you have to copy and paste it in the corresponding environment variables, which let me show you, by the way. So if I go to my apps, for example, because I already subscribed to the Food API free layer, in here we have the security. So here you have your API key, right? So you have to then copy and paste it into the corresponding environment variables that we have in here inside the solution, of course. So you open it and just copy and paste it, and that's it. And the API based URL, again, this is the same always. So it's just copy and paste it from because we will be uploading the solution with a README file. So which all these steps to install and configure the solution. So you will just copy, you will have to only copy and paste these values in the corresponding environment variables. And then you are ready to play. So let me go back. And that's it so far. I don't know if we have time for questions or something that you want to add, Nico.
About 2 minutes for questions. No, nothing to add.
thank you, everyone. This is a wonderful session, and I hope it will be useful for our all attendees. So, if guys, you guys have any questions, Nicholas and Wilmer just has shared their details, so you can reach them out anytime if you guys have any question related to their sessions. All right, thank you so much, guys, for joining us, and it's a wonderful experience that you guys joined us, and will look forward to have you again in our upcoming sessions.
It was a really pleasure for us to be part of this. Actually, last year we didn't have the time to submit something, and it was pending in our to-do list. So yeah, thank you for giving us the chance to be here.
The pleasure was ours. So thank you again for having us, and thank you everybody for share your